Good evening again, everyone. My name is Greg L. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here on this hot, sticky night. It's right in the middle of the summer. It feels like a sausage fest. It's great. Nice to be here. I have a sobriety date, September 4th, 2008. So God willing, I'll turn 16 years sober in a couple weeks from now. I have a sponsor who knows is my sponsor, and I help out guys. I'm one of the grateful alcoholics. I'll tell you what it was like and what happened, what it's like now. The reason I might linger a little bit on what it was like is because that's my type of recovery, and people might be able to identify. I grew up in Paris, France. I'm from an alcoholic background, so father, uncle, siblings, some of it was questionable, but it was difficult to adjust to this dysfunctional environment. I had what I needed. There was love, but it was there were a lot of mind games, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of bad faith. So I learned these things at home, and my father decided to get sober first, so he was the first to get tossed out because the party had to continue. I think I was an alcoholic before any of this happened. I was born this way, and so what that means to me is I felt restless, irritable, discontent. I needed a little dopamine, so it came in the form of sports or whatever it may be. I wanted more of something, whatever that is. So it came as a great relief to start drinking, plus at the age of 11. I was big into tennis, and I was doing a child actor, not star, doing gigs. So I hung out with like 14, 15-year-old, and so that's when this started. I really enjoyed being out of my mind, so I, as much as I could, wherever I could, my value system started shifting a little bit as this happened. The fourth step talks about a moral inventory. Well, the language is pretty explicit, and I don't think we are saints, but I think the words are well chosen in the literature. And so, I was doing things I wasn't proud of. Probably as a teenager, I started drinking daily. I squeaked by the high school thing. I had consequences straight from the get-go. I think I went to this good friend's bar mitzvah, and he knocked me out. So I was 12 years old, and I went and did a beeline to the bar, and I guess it was for adults. But anyway, so it started off that way, a big motorcycle crash at 14, broken femur, et cetera, et cetera. So that part's less important, but there was something missing. I felt disconnected even when the life was going well, getting by in school, had good friends, doing the sport thing and everything. I still felt disconnected, so I think I have an emotional, spiritual malady. And so I started to drink every day as a very young man, and so I think that arrested my development, the emotional development. What that means is I couldn't deal with anything, and as I would look back, even then, it was when my parents got divorced. It was like a great tragedy for me, and I have one brother who's not an alcoholic, and he just brushed it off and said it's their choice. So I couldn't deal with the vicissitudes of life. I couldn't cope with anything, and way too sensitive. And so it was better to be in full flight from reality, sort of making up my own thing, and not feeling anything. So that was a solution, so long as it lasted. And also, it's because I started drinking young, I didn't know who I was. And thanks to the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, that's why I'm forever grateful, because the steps are perfectly well engineered for people like me, like us. And so I didn't know who I was. So the book talks about being the actor or the director. So there's a lot of bad faith, when you're not putting your best foot forward, when you're afraid of everyone and everything, and you're going after the allure of life, all the material things. Well, then it's a tug of war. It's a power play. So I had character defects that manifested in sort of like I had to be in control. I didn't trust anyone. That led to drinking too much and being completely paranoid. But prior to that, it's just not a good feeling to be disconnected from others and trying to, if I felt in control, I'd be the director. If I didn't, I'd make it up. I'd pretend. So I pretended for a long time because I wasn't in control. My life was unmanageable. So I was really happy to read about the second part of step one. The unmanageability, I squeaked by, no, actually, okay in college, but I picked one where you're almost encouraged to drink and get high or whatnot. I went to art school, so that's a good fit. And so, I had a problem with geography. I would never feel happy where I was. I would learn later on that I had to surrender, and what is surrender? It's being. Surrender is now, right here. But I was always fantasizing or regretting something, and so I make it through there, and I thought some person would help me get to the next level. I met someone at a party, and she was good looking, and I liked especially the way she was contemplating her wine, and so I approached, and as it happens, I guess we're both not single, but I managed to talk her into going to Thailand 7 days later, and I was already instincts gone amok. I think in my second year of college, I moved 11 times, so there's something wrong with other people, or other neighborhoods, or you name it, it's the call of God. And so here I am in Thailand with this person I don't know, and I'm like, well, let's make this more interesting. Why don't I ask her to marry me? And to my surprise, she said yes, so we both almost fell off our stool. So she called me out on the bluff, and then so we got to know each other after that. As it happens, she was very enamored with her mother, so it's like, from the first day of this project, it felt like I was in a throuple with this evil mother-in-law. I would come to find out that she was a great interior decorator too. Like she'd come over and she'd start picking the color of the paint, and when I would say something to her, the other one would cry. I mean, it was a nightmare. And I also found out that my wife was way too intelligent, some call it sociopathy, but she would say, I make up a lie in the morning and it works all day. And what am I supposed to do?
I think I got one of those.
Yeah. And so I got really nervous, and I started seeing her on TV. She's a good writer. So that was a relief to both of us when that ended soon. And then I had a license. In a way, I stayed married to alcohol, and now I had a license to drink the way I wanted to. So it was times 3. I think I qualified for this program at 15, 16. Now I'm in my mid to late 20s. I can barely work. I've been demoted at work. I'm like no longer in charge. I'm asking my assistant to run the show. I need to do only mornings because I need to get drunk at noon. I have a few beers in my bag because it takes 15, I'm not driving my motorcycle anymore because I lost it. Unmanageability, I lost my motorcycle. I don't know where I parked it one night. So I'm walking to the bar, and I have to have a couple beers, and then I could sense that my life is going either in circles or backwards, but not the right direction. And so I have these two friends there. One is rather funny guy who does fraud insurance instead of his whole career. He caught one guy, and so he's a real jokester. And then the other guy lost his license as a therapist, and I'm going to talk to this guy. And he's selling visas out of the bar. So, free therapy, right? And so I'm like, I started dating this woman, and I don't know if we live together. It's like, well, tell me more. So, it's like, well, she lives over there. It's like, I don't care about that. And I live in the basement. And say, well, why do you live in the basement? Because I'm broke and I work half the day. Okay. Is her stuff in your apartment? So, yeah. Does she have her tea kettle there? Yes. Like, well, you guys live together. Like, okay. So my life is kind of skipping me. I'm drinking more and more. I know there's no future. I'm starting to get a sense that I'm going to die if I continue drinking. This is still the instincts gone amok. I love the fourth step. This is still fight or flight. Usually it's, in a way it's always flight, because either I run away, change cities, change girlfriends or whatnot, or I burn bridges, same idea. I get a few successes, like I wrote songs for these famous musicians for the lyrics, and the who's listening to this in this fancy nice club, and it's like 1 in the afternoon, and I already drank too much vodka, I fell asleep. So they can't introduce me because this big songwriter is fucking sleeping. Yeah. So incomprehensible demoralization comes in other forms, but move on. So I know that I'm at a turning point here. I'm gonna have to decide, do I want to die slowly? I'm demoralized. I'm not connecting even with my close friends. I'm estranged from the family for the most part. Nobody trusts me. I'm trying to control everything. I've lost control of everything. So I reluctantly go to rehab, and then I'm an optimist. From here on in, I'm a real optimist. I connected with everything. They handed me the book. It was a sneaky rehab where they didn't say it was a 12-step program based, peer driven. But they snuck in circuit speakers and rehab. Everything was regimented, which was good. I think that's one of the principles of discipline, So I was happy to have to stop. And one of the prayers I connected with, slow me down, Lord. Subsequently, my recovery is more about the St. Francis prayer, or including others and things like that. But certainly at that juncture, I needed to get to know who I was. It was not the wrong foundation altogether. And so one thing I noticed there was, I surrendered and I woke up praying. I hadn't prayed all the drinking years, many years. And it was just a relief. And that doesn't mean that I admitted to my innermost self that I was an alcoholic. I was just happy that I didn't need to fight everyone and everything anymore. And that was a great relief. And I started laughing again. Then, the steps were very, very helpful. When I came to LA, I was a bit of a con, so they conned me into thinking I was going to move a family here. So that didn't happen. So I had to sort of adjust to being alone here. But I felt like a family going to AA, the log cabin, places like that. I went every day. It was hard for me to find that higher power because of the trust and the control I was talking about, but I eventually found a higher power who was kind and loving and tolerant. And I started being of service. And the fourth step was great. I eventually found a really good sponsor who told me that I didn't need to force myself into this reality. I didn't need to fight anymore, and that I could only keep what I was learning if I gave it away, and that was unbelievable to me. And then it was about sharing things with other people. It wasn't competition. I came to find out that it was my character defects. Too competitive and just trying to dominate things like this, and that doesn't help, So the fourth step was great. I noticed that I had patterns. I mentioned the family with the dysfunction. That with that came a lot of codependency. They all needed each other and they could stand each other too. So there's that codependency. And I could at least relate to that much of it, even though I was now willing to change my life completely. That's who I am, and so I learned how to. Excuse me. I learned how to try to give it away, and there's another thing I found out when I was looking at these steps is these patterns, how to react to things, oversensitivity, and all this. These are patterns, and these things ruin my life. And I learned this because I had a good sponsor who kept on pushing the paper back over and said, try harder. And so I could see more. And there's also the notion that as I was doing these steps, I realized that there's nothing I could do about my past. There's nothing I could do about my present, really. And I need to invite God into the equation. And I started praying more around this time, and I found out there's no causality. It's not because I'm doing this that I'm going to get that. And sure enough, some bad things come to us out of nowhere. Some great things come to us out of nowhere. What I'm responsible is for the little stuff. Power was my dilemma. But I could do the little things. I can, again, the principle, responsibility. I could do that. Integrity. I can say. I can do what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. That's Clancy. That's really important. Because people can count on me. And so the fifth step really rocked my world. As a performer of sorts, I thought everything was negotiable. There's a poetic license running through people's veins and stuff, but sometimes it is what it is. It's, reality is what it is for everyone. And as for events, in God's eye, there's just one version of the truth. So that was a hard pill to swallow. That is what it is. But being able to open up and be honest with the other man taught me how to be more vulnerable. That's intimacy. And that was really great because it's a little bumpy on the father side of things. So that was a really nice moment for me. I felt like I was high in some other way, like a spiritual high, as it were. And some of it was no big deal. And I just keep on learning lessons. I'm a big fan of the 12-step program. For me, the 12 steps serve many different functions. It's like I heard someone say it's a 12-step ladder to get over myself. 12 steps to learn how to live life on life's terms. Because all of these steps, none of them I want to do them. They're all contrary action. But when I do it, I feel better. I feel like it's so it's that part of sacrifice that we work a little bit for this, and the returns are amazing. What happened in recovery is I continued to stay involved. Like our birthday recipient mentioned staying connected. It's easier than coming in and out. I think I want to stay connected with a higher power, and that's what connects me to others. And sometimes with integrity, you do things, you don't mention it, you feel good, you talk to newcomers. I love meetings that have a mix like this one. I go to Sunrise, mix of people. I feel like the newcomers are closer to God. The incomprehensible demoralization, the thing that's killing us, some of us. And I need to be reminded of that. I want to be in that zone, and then I want to hear great messages, from my friend Tony or others. I know plenty of people in AA, and I need to hear that. I need to learn new things, stay involved. I'm happily married now. I was pretty good at ruining any relationship pretty fast. Now I'm married 14 years. She's my best friend. We just love being together. She found a way to work remotely from home. Then we go for walks and stuff. you know, I learned from people in AA and outside of AA, have good spiritual principles. I try to bring this into all of my affairs, the best of my abilities. I come short, but I try pretty hard. You know, lately I've been working on, you know, let's not do contempt prior to investigation. I remember back in the day when I was building a case to continue drinking, essentially, I had to hate the whole world. The world was telling me I had to change, right? And so there was something wrong with France, with America too, and God and all this, and you know, I was not thinking clearly at all. My value system was upside down. That's the moral part, I guess. So it would make other people laugh and make me cry, and vice versa. But luckily, I've recovered for the most part, and so not making assumptions, not jumping to conclusions. That's easier said than done, because what that requires, that's the St. Francis prayer. You need to understand more than be understood, and then that's hard. You know, that's hard. It requires patience. It requires courage, because people can get us. You know, we're not impervious. We have, and so as I open up more, I show them who I am, and do the same. And so the St. Francis prayer, I think it's mentioned like twice in the 11th step of the 12 and 12. So great insistence, and it's a great prayer. I owe my life and my happiness to AA. Thanks for having me.